What changed? That was the first question Lexie Hull had to face when the 2024 season began to slip away from her. In a previous interview, she admitted the start was rough, harder than anyone expected for a 6th overall pick out of Stanford who once looked like a future cornerstone. So how did she turn the page? How did the final stretch of the season feel so different from the slow-motion stumble that came before it? The answer is layered: hours in empty gyms, a locker room that refused to fracture, and a rookie gravitated the entire direction of Indiana fever. Before the season tipped, the conversation around Hull had started drifting into uneasy territory. The Stanford star, who lifted trophies in college and entered the WNBA with a reputation for toughness, shooting, and relentless defense, was suddenly stuck. Under former coach Christie Sides, her minutes evaporated. Role players passed her on the depth chart. She was collecting splinters at the end of the bench while the Fever cycled through rotations that didn't stick. Fans began whispering the thing nobody wanted to say out loud. Was Lexie Hull going to fulfill her promise, or was she destined to be another first-rounder who never quite found her place? Context matters here. Hull didn't fall in love with basketball because someone told her she had to. She was born into it. Her family is wired for competition. Her grandfather played. Her dad played at the collegiate level. She and her twin sister grew up side by side with a ball in their hands. But it wasn't a one-sport childhood. Her parents pushed them to try everything: soccer, volleyball, track, anything that sharpened instincts and built balance. That variety is part of what made Lexie the player she became at Stanford. A defender who moved how to occupy it. That pedigree only made the early months of 2024 harder to swallow. The Fever stumbled out of the gates at 1-8. On paper, it looked like a team searching for an identity. On the floor, it felt worse. Rotations changed nightly. Defensive breakdowns piled up. The offense stalled. Everything the franchise wanted to be kept getting drowned out by everything it wasn't. Inside the locker room, players tried to keep the faith. Outside it, headlines grew sharper. Poor rotations, leaky defense, zero chemistry. Hull, watching it unfold from the sideline, had to navigate a double burden: the team's spiral and her own shrinking role. Trusting the process is a cliche until it's all you have. Hull made it real by living it. She stayed late. She stayed ready. She attacked the details she could control: the sharper cut, the cleaner footwork on her jumper, the quicker read off a flare screen, the extra reps on corner threes after every practice. At the beginning of the season, my playing time definitely looked different than it did at the end, she said. So I focused on staying the work so I could take full advantage of them. It sounds simple until you try it, night after night, when the box score doesn't love you back. Then came the jolt that shook the Fever from the inside out: Caitlin Clark. It's not enough to say her arrival energized the franchise. It changed the franchise. She didn't just bring points, she brought belief. The rookie's presence was like flipping all the lights on at once. Practices had juice. Walkthroughs felt different. The second Clark walked into Indiana, the offense had a focal point, and the gravity that came with it bent the entire floor. It didn't just give the Fever a star. It gave every player a role that finally made sense. Hull understood that immediately. She made it a priority to know Clark as a person first. Chemistry doesn't start in the pick and roll. It starts in conversation, in trust built off the court. Connections matter, Hull told CS4 Sports and Dunker Spot. Getting to people really plays a part in team success. When Clark and Hull talked, they didn't only compare notes on X's and O's. They talked about how to lead, how to handle expectations, what it meant to carry a team city after city with a spotlight that can burn as easily as it can warm. That foundation paid off when the games counted. If Hull cut, she knew the ball could arrive from angles she hadn't seen before. If she sprinted in transition, she knew Clark could hit her with a pass from half a court away. Suddenly, every run, every lane fill, every shallow cut had purpose. And the numbers back it up. Hull's shot volume climbed. Her percentages improved. She went from "maybe you'll get a look" to "you're part of the action," because the Fever's offense began to hum around Clark's vision, Kelsey Mitchell scoring, and Aaliyah Boston's interior presence. With Mitchell drawing attention on the wing and Boston commanding respect on the block, Clark started threading passes into windows the Fever hadn't even opened before. That's what playing with a high-level player does, a role rather than a token exercise. It's so fun to know you're not just cutting to cut, Hull explained. You're cutting with a real chance to make a play. If you want to know where a transformation starts, don't look at the box score, look at practice. Behind closed doors, this team changed. Scrimmages turned combative. Drills took on an edge. Set breakdowns weren't tolerated, they were fixed on the spot. We play against guys in practice, Hull said with a laugh. And if they're not winning, Caitlin's going to do everything she can to make sure they're competing. That isn't just energy, that's culture. Clark's competitiveness bled into the roster until everyone felt accountable for the same standard. Coaches saw it. Teammates felt it. A team that once drifted through drills started demanding better of itself, rep after rep. The impact on Hull's role was tangible. Early in the year, she could go a whole quarter without a touch. By mid-season, she had multiple plays called for her in quick succession. Curl to the elbow, flare to the shallow cut behind a ball screen, slip on the weak side, sprint to the corner for the catch-and-shoot three. With Clark at the controls, Kelsey Mitchell's gravity, and Aaliyah Boston's screen setting and post touches, the spacing improved. Indiana started to run true drive-and-kick action. The ball didn't stick half as much. Hull's off-ball movement, already a strength, suddenly became a weapon. She was finishing at the rim, earning free throws, and burying threes at the type of clip that keeps a defense honest. One team adjustment made a difference during the Olympic break. The Fever had a month of concentrated practice. Every day after those sessions, the coaching staff posted shooting percentages, twos, threes, drill work, and live scrimmage numbers. Hull leaned into it. Some players found it annoying. She found it clarifying. Numbers don't lie, she said. Seeing the progress on paper gave me belief. That belief translated to rhythm when the schedule resumed. Her arc from the first season to the story stitched together. It was a measurable climb. This was personal, but it was also collective. While Hull found herself again, so did the Fever. With Clark's playmaking, Mitchell's shot creation, Boston's two-way dominance, and contributions up and down the roster, Indiana shifted from surviving to attacking. The chemistry began to pop. The team didn't splinter through the 1-8 start. They didn't turn on each other. They kept working, trusted the tweaks, and believed the floor would tilt their way eventually. When it did, it felt like relief and reward. On the road, arenas felt like home games. At home, the vibe became hard to describe. Pure noise, wall-to-wall energy, fans who believed in what they were watching because they could feel the work behind it. For Hull, the growth brought new visibility. A quick grocery run in Indianapolis turned into a fist bump and a go Fever. A coffee stop became a selfie line. It's thrilling. It's also a lot. We have so many more eyes on the game now, she said. That's what we want. It comes with pressure. Social media magnifies everything. After a loss, the comment sections can feel heavy. After a win, the praise can be loud enough to be distracting. The solution wasn't to pretend she didn't read any of it. The solution was support. Teammates and family reminded her to keep perspective, log off when needed, focus on the film, and get back to the work that made the noise possible. There were lighter moments too. Hull and Erica Wheeler started swapping outfits as part of a pregame tradition. Their styles couldn't be more different, which made the experiment even more fun. The first time Hull tried on one of Wheeler's picks, she was sure it wouldn't work. It did. Her teammates loved it. It became a bit of ritual before tip-off, a lighthearted way to shake off nerves and remember that the joy you bring into the arena matters as much as the game plan you bring to the first quarter. If you want the clearest picture of what changed for Hull, think about how she describes playing with Caitlin Clark now versus the first practice they shared. At first, she wasn't always ready for the pass that came. She didn't expect the ball with a defender draped on the handler and another shading toward the strong side. Now, she expects it on every cut. It took me a second, she admitted, but it only takes one of those passes to wrap your head around the fact that the floor is different now. A point guard who sees the floor one step ahead makes everyone else faster. A point guard who throws it on time makes the cutter believe in sprinting every single rep. Clark's basketball brain, to borrow Hull's phrasing, turned Indiana's offense into something dynamic. The bigger theme is about leadership. Clark's platform and the pressure that comes with it are unique. She's coached by cameras as much as by staff, but she carries it with a maturity that rubs off. When Hull missed a shot, Clark was the first to say, "You've got the next one." When the defensive rotations missed a beat, Clark was the first to show where the next step should be. That combination, demanding standards and steady encouragement, is why the Fever's culture felt different by season's end. You could see it in every huddle. You could feel it from the bench. You could hear it in the way players talked about each other on and off camera. There's a bigger story here about the WNBA's growth, and Indiana sits at the center of it. Attendance surged across the league, and the Fever were a headline reason why. Sold-out arenas. National broadcasts turning into appointment viewing. Fans who hadn't watched women's basketball in years, or ever, now arguing about pick-and-roll coverages and weak-side relocations. Hull talked about it with gratitude. On the road, it felt like home games, she said. We were playing in sold-out arenas we hadn't seen in the last 2 years. It was exciting. Growth isn't a buzzword when you can hear it from the stands. This kind of rise brings tough questions too. What does sustainability look like? How do you maintain a locker room culture when the spotlight's brighter? The answer was simple and honest. Keep the process front and center. Keep the focus on accountability, genuine trust, and the daily work. All of it comes down to trusting the process, she said. And part of that process is making sure the work gets done. When you build a foundation on those principles, the noise, good and bad, doesn't sway you as much. The Fever's arc from early season stumble to second half surge felt like more than a hot streak. It felt like identity. With Clark orchestrating, Hull blossoming into a reliable two-way wing, Aaliyah Boston anchoring both ends, and Kelsey Mitchell doing what elite scorers do, warping defenses with a single dribble, Indiana didn't just improve. It became one of the most compelling stories in basketball. They weren't just chasing a playoff berth. They were rewriting what this franchise could be over the next 5 years. Hull's own numbers tell the story. Early in her career, she struggled to find rhythm because volume was low. 1 or 2 three-point attempts a night is a high-wire act. Miss one and you feel it twice. As the second half of 2024 unfolded, the volume ticked up, and the percentages followed. Her efficiency climbed when she could touch the ball more than twice a quarter. Coaches still posted those daily shooting charts after practice during the Olympic break because they knew confidence often follows proof. Hull was one of the players who used that proof to unlock her next level. The presence of veterans and leaders mattered too. Mitchell has been a constant for years. Erica Wheeler's voice carries weight in that locker room. Boston matured from elite freshman to franchise cornerstone in a blink. Together, they stretched the burden across shoulders broad enough to carry it. That's why the Fever didn't implode when the start felt catastrophic. Other franchises might have. Indiana didn't. That resilience is what turned April's questions into August's answers. Off the court, Hull's world changed as well. All of these people were supporting me this whole time, she said, recalling a flood of messages after a breakout week. You forget there are people behind the scenes until they tell you they've been following along. That support matters when the comment sections swing the other way after a loss. It matters when the travel gets long and the routine wears you down. The WNBA's growth brought new pressures, but it brought new communities, too. Fans who wanted to see these women succeed, not just on the court, but in the city they represent. There was buzz around coaching as well. As the league grows more competitive and the spotlight gets brighter, the pool of coaching talent attracted to the WNBA grows with it. Hull expressed optimism about that, too. The future shapes itself differently when a league becomes a destination for great coaches and great players alike. I think we're going to have great coaches coming up, she said. It's unpredictable right now, but I'm excited to talk about it a year from now.